Hi, I'm Grady Culhane, the CapeCod.com News Center. Welcome to Sunday Journal. I'm joined today by a special guest with the state. Do you mind introducing yourself for our listeners?
Sure. I'm Amy Kershaw. I'm the Commissioner for the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care, and thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much, Amy. It is a pleasure. We had some great news coming from Governor Maura Healey the other day. She was just on Cape, actually, with the YMCA Cape Cod. Very local for all of us, of course, to talk a little bit more about some awesome stuff coming for universal pre-K. A lot of money coming down to expand out childcare to, I believe, 488 more seats across the public sector. Do you mind just talking a little bit about how much of an impact is that really in terms of like percentage wise, the about 400 to almost 500 seats? And a little bit more about how this money is being utilized, some of the exciting things coming down the pipe because of it.
Sure. Well, childcare and early education is really essential for the infrastructure of the Commonwealth, the competitiveness of our economy, and the ability for our families to work. And the Healey Driscoll administration has been prioritizing early childhood education as an essential component of being able to make us a competitive environment and recruit and retain families to live and work in Massachusetts. About a year ago, I had an opportunity to meet with the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce Childcare Task Force. And that group talks a lot about the unique challenges facing the Cape in terms of childcare and early education for families and for employers. So we were thrilled to be back on the Cape last week with Governor Healey and Secretary Tutwiler to announce new resources going into communities across the Commonwealth, but in particular, both to Sandwich and Barnstable, with the opportunity to expand access to early childhood education. So the goal through the governor's Gateway to Pre-K agenda is that by 2026, we will have reached all 4-year-olds in gateway cities with access to low or no cost early childhood education through our mixed delivery system.
hmm Now that is awesome. We have State Senator Susan Moran, who has highlighted, especially after the COVID pandemic, that the childcare issue is also a issue, especially for women. That was having a lot of issues with women getting back into the workforce, especially post COVID. Is that something that you have also been seeing? Is this something that's going to help out with getting getting everybody into the workforce, of course, which is a huge bonus for us, but for women especially?
Yeah, I mean, it's a top challenge for families in general to be able to access high quality, affordable childcare. Massachusetts has among the highest costs for childcare in the country, and it's just why we've prioritized and really focused on tackling affordability and access in multiple ways. So the announcement we made last week is really around making pre-K more accessible for our families, which makes communities more attractive and allows families to have safe, stimulating places for their children to go while they're able to return to work, go to work, or maybe go back to school and pursue higher education or other economic mobility pathways for themselves.
Yeah, that you actually bring up. So we also recently had a big change for community colleges across the state as well. There's been a lot of investment in trying to make higher education available for people who maybe didn't finish degrees, or maybe just didn't have the opportunity when they were younger. So is this kind of like a multifaceted approach between childcare and education? Are you hoping to kind of build a much more robust workforce in this regard?
Absolutely. Across the education continuum, we're trying to make education, whether it's early childhood education or education which starts at birth, all the way up through higher education, more affordable and accessible for the residents of the Commonwealth, which ultimately makes us a much more competitive economy, allows families to come here, go to school here, raise their kids here, work here, and hopefully raise next generation of kids here as well.
Mhm. Yeah, it's certainly an issue specifically for the Cape Islands region as well, just because well, of course, that's more affordable housing. A lot of people can't afford to raise their kids to begin with in this area. But then with, of course, childcare, that's just compounded. It's just another thing in the issue. But we've been seeing unfortunately, an exodus from Massachusetts as of late, especially for young families. Do you hope that this is going to be enough? Is there more kind of things in the can that you're looking to expand further? Is this just the beginning in terms of the childcare opportunities? What would be your hope essentially over the next couple of years, or maybe even up to 10 years?
Absolutely. So the announcements last week, which will enable Sandwich to expand its offerings for early childhood education and preschool across the community, and then an investment in Barnstable and a planning initiative, which would allow them over the next couple years to plan for and implement. And both of those districts have the opportunity to attract more families coming into those communities, staying in those communities. Childcare is a really significant part of families' budgets, and access to low or no cost preschool, as well as high quality education that they know they can start their children young and stay within an existing school district all the way up, is really attractive for families. And as the Cape struggles to make sure that they have um, workers all year long, not just in the season, not just in the seasonal, but all year long. I think these kinds of investments provide a critical opportunity for families to be able to stay in those communities. We're also tackling childcare affordability in other ways too. So increasing access to childcare financial assistance for families across the Commonwealth, raising eligibility levels, and ensuring that families have choices that they need to be able to go back to work.
All right, that is awesome. So as well, we were seeing a big development. This is the result of what I believe is locally called the millionaire tax. So this is a lot of money that's been going towards this. I believe it is. I'm trying to get the data now in front of me to make sure I don't mess this up. I believe this is $3.4 million. It's generated from the Fair Share Amendment. So is this just going to be one of many things coming down the pike? Is this something that would have been difficult in years prior? Was that Fair Share Amendment, you think, part of one of the major ways that we were able to get this money rolling for this agenda item, this thing like that, childcare like this and more?
So the Fair Share Amendment, as you know, is sort of split between transportation and education. And we believe strongly that early childhood education is a really critical investment in our educational system. Not only does it help prepare children for school readiness, but it really lays a foundation for life success. So the Fair Share funding has enabled us to be able to make these additional expanded investments in early childhood education. Really, nine communities will be expanding programs across the Commonwealth. As you said, nearly 500 new seats for kids across the Commonwealth. So, and this is, in the governor's budget for FY25 for the next fiscal year, we've proposed an additional 15 million, which would allow us to expand to new communities.
Mhm. That is awesome. So this is, I mean, obviously this is focused more on like towns and stuff like that right now, but there's been a lot of growth in private childcare. Do you think that is there also going to be a look at like the quality of childcare? I assume that this isn't just writing a blank check for everybody who says they're a childcare provider in the local area. This is going to be focused. It's obviously for Gateway City specifically. Can you talk a little bit more about how the quality of childcare is important for the youth, essentially, before as they're growing up? I assume parents don't just want to leave their kids with anybody. But just how informative is that in terms of years, and how is that being factored into some of these plans?
So the research is really clear that early childhood education makes an incredible difference in, again, children's readiness for school as well as lifelong success. And we also know that the quality of the care makes a big difference in those outcomes. So the Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative, which is the program that we announced expansion of both in Sandwich and Barnstable, a really key component of that is curriculum alignment between the public schools and our community-based settings. So we're committed to delivering this through what we call the mixed delivery system. That's our family child care providers, our center-based programs like the Beautiful Y, where we had our event, and by working across communities, aligning curriculum, aligning professional development, having mentors that are working in the public schools and in the private settings, we can ensure that the quality of early education, regardless of where a child is enrolled and what choice a family wants to make, they have access to the same kind of high quality early education that we know will prepare those children for school success.
All right, awesome. I imagine the kind of the more standardization, I suppose, was be a lot more appealing for people considering moving to Massachusetts, if they can have a more reliable thing for their child, essentially, in terms of childcare.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other big investments that we've made that the programs on the Cape and families on the Cape will be able to experience is that our board in January of this year proposed a very significant increase in the rates paid to our providers who participate in childcare financial assistance. So what that means is families who are receiving financial assistance from the state, the amount that those families have to buy in the market now has increased by about 34% for infants on the Cape. Again, recognizing the unique challenges of access and affordability for families and employers on the Cape.
Mhm. Yes, it's unfortunately another almost a Cape Cod tax in a way between affordable housing, water quality, and childcare. I'm afraid it's about all the time that we have, but Amy, is there anything else we wanted to highlight for our listeners or things that are exciting you about this new initiative or stuff you're looking forward to, especially when it comes to how it might relate to Cape Cod specifically?
Sure. Again, I just want to thank the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce for their sort of partnership in working with us and with businesses in the community and with families and with providers to create sort of multiple levers to be able to solve and focus on early education and care. The governor has proposed kind of a four-prong agenda called the Gateway to Pre-K, and it really focuses on pre-K access, as we've talked about today, and expanding affordability for programs, continuing our Commonwealth Cares for Children program, which is a really important operational support for childcare programs. And then the fourth is really working across government to focus on childcare as infrastructure. And we know that that's going to be really important as we think about the unique situation for families and for providers who are living and working on the Cape.
All right, awesome. Well, stay tuned for those next steps. Amy, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Grady. We appreciate you having us.
I'm Grady Culhane in the CapeCod.com News Center.